Have you ever used these things behind your steering wheel before? If you haven't, they enable you to change gear manually. But when most modern Mercedes-Benz are automatic, why would you ever want to? Hey guys, and welcome to my channel. My name is Nick O'Leary, and today we're looking at your paddle shifters. We'll be looking at what they are, where they came from, and how you yourself can make use of them day to day. And on top of this as well, if you yourself own a Mercedes, I might share a little hidden tip and trick on those paddle shifters at the end of the video. But first and foremost, let's have a look at what they are and kind of where they came from. Paddle shifters, also known as flappy paddles, allow you quite simply to change gear manually. Travel back to the late 1980s and you'll find that one of the first cars that featured these was in fact a Ferrari. Shortly after this, in the 1990s, many car racing manufacturers started implementing this technology to allow drivers to shift through the gears with ease. They were placed right behind the steering wheel because of naturally that's where your hands are when driving, so you can easily grab them at a moment's notice. Now, a common misconception is that they're just for racing in high performance cars. While yes, they do have their place here, they do have a place for day-to-day use as well. So because of this trend and a shift towards automatics with paddles like these here, manual gearboxes are just a thing of the past. Now, most modern cars have a dual clutch transmission, multi-clutch transmission, or even a thing called an AMG speed shift like in this car here. Oversimplifying it for all three variations, and of course some more as well, they quite simply have the next gear selected at all times. So whether you're striving for that fuel efficiency, it can change gear really quickly and smoothly, giving you that kind of Mercedes-Benz experience you'd come to expect. However, in some high-performance cars like this one, it can change gear rapidly, giving you that power and kick and putting that power down to the floor when you need it the most. And I guess this neatly comes on to, why do they exist? Why do you need them? Well, quite simply, you don't need them, but it does give you the option to change gear manually if you want to. So for example, if you're taking this car around a track or driving it in a very sporty way, you can change gear manually and control when the car changes gear if you want to do it manually. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, if it's snowy or icy, you can control the gearbox manually and actually choose when the car changes gear. Or another case in point as well, if you're going down a very steep hill, you can drop it down a gear to use engine braking instead of wearing your brakes out. So then guys, a real world example for you to use yourself. So if you look really closely at the steering wheel, you'll notice that the paddles have either a minus symbol or a plus symbol. Quite simply, tapping the left one, the minus one, will go down a gear, and tapping the plus one will go up a gear. Now, you don't actually necessarily need to touch anything else to put it into a manual mode, it will automatically do that for you. So I'm actually cruising at the moment at about 29, 30 miles an hour, and I've just entered a 40. So yes, I could plant my right foot down to the floor, it will drop down to lowest gear and accelerate forward, but another way of doing this is by using the paddles. So if you tap the left paddle, if you look really closely, and I'm going to cut to my camera here, see it says D6 at the moment. If I tap it once, that now says M5, and M means manual, so now I'm in the manual mode, and it is only a temporary manual mode, so I'll explain how to come out of that in a minute. If I tap it again, it'll go to M4. One more time, it'll go to M3, so you can see the revs just shooting up there and obviously matching that engine speed. If I tap the right one, it'll go to M4, right one again, M5. Now of course, if you want to accelerate quicker, of course you'll need a lower gear, so if I tap the left one, and again, I can now accelerate and really get up to that speed limit for this road, which of course is 40. Now I'm still in that manual mode. I can leave it, and if I recall, it's about 8 to 10 seconds or so, and basically the car will go back into that automatic mode. There we go, it's just done that. So it is only a temporary manual mode. However, there is another thing. If you, for example, if I drop down a gear, so I'm currently in M4, if I hold the right one, that will go back to automatic straight away. So you don't have to wait for it to go back to automatic, you can just manually do it straight away if you want to. So then guys, that hidden tip and trick that I promised. So as we've just covered on the road, the paddles of course change the gears. This one goes down a gear, this one goes up a gear. That's nice and easy. Now when you do use these, the car kind of goes into like a temporary manual mode, which is fine, but of course if you leave it, it will go back to automatic a few seconds later. So what happens if you want to drive in like a full manual mode all the time where you always use the paddles? Well, this can vary from model to model, so you'll just have to kind of have a look. Some models like GLCs, GLEs, some SUVs and AMGs do have a dedicated M button down here. So when you press this, so for example it's this button here, when you press this it will put the gearbox into a manual mode all the time, meaning it won't go back to automatic until you turn it off. Now not all models have that M button, so for example an A-Class doesn't have that. So what you can do is use dynamic, the dynamic select, and go to a thing called the individual mode. So dynamic select is the one where you have your comfort, sport and eco modes. Go into individual, then go to settings, and in here you can actually customize your own mode and make it a manual mode, among a few other settings and that sort of thing. So now when I'm driving along, you've got comfort, sport, sport plus or eco, depending on the model you have, but that individual mode is now your personal customized manual mode, meaning you have to change gears on here. Of course, that is only if you want to use the paddle shifters, but it's one workaround just in case you don't have that M button down in the middle. And there we go guys, that concludes this week's video on how to use your paddle shifters in your Mercedes-Benz. Now tell me guys, what do you use them for? Let me know in the section down below in the comments section. And likewise, do you have any suggestions for future videos? Let me know down below and I might just consider one of your suggestions. Well guys, as always, huge shout out to Sandown Mercedes-Benz as they help provide access to all the cars you see in the videos. So huge shout out to them. Well guys, thank you so much for watching. Until next week, we'll see you then.